been very important part of the court system in our county and all over southwest Arkansas and northeast Texas, and that is CASA, which stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. And kind of tell you how important it is, you learn to rely on the trained volunteers of CASA. As a circuit judge, I've learned to rely on them very extensively because we just don't have enough resources in our community. As you know, any community doesn't have enough resources to deal with problem children. And problem children meaning those that are not their own fault or having to be displaced from parents or don't have parents. And I would invite any of you, in my introduction, I would invite all of you to come sit a day in juvenile court if you've never done that. If you ever want to understand what a lot of the problems in our community are, because juvenile court seems to be systemic of the problems that we have. And I've learned as a circuit judge that certainly blame is not on the school districts or the people that have these children. The blame is that these children don't have any parents. There are no parents. And I had juvenile court one day with 18 kids on the docket. One parent showed up. That's the problem we have in our community, not just in Hope, it's everywhere. But thankfully with groups like CASA, which is again Court Appointed Special Advocates for Children, we're trying to address that problem. And we have a couple of people from CASA that are going to talk to you about some of the things they are doing that are helping children and that are having problems in their lives at young ages and also in teenage ages. We have Lee Davis with us from CASA and also Chad Mullins, and I'm going to turn it over to these guys. Thank you.
Pass money to the front. I'm Chad Mullins. I'm with CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocates. We're out of Texas County. We currently cover 8 counties in southwest Arkansas, and we 2 counties in northeast Texas, and actually now 4. We just took over 2 new counties down in Texas that we're working extensively trying to get our name out there. Real quick, what CASA, what we do. This is the first thing, everybody. What do you do? We have an office and we work with volunteers. We recruit volunteers in communities where the children are in need, families are in need. We educate these volunteers, then we send them out to work these cases. What that entails through education is a 30-hour education course, which sounds like a whole lot, which is not really that bad. A lot of video, take stuff home, things like that. Actually go to court one day. Then we go out with you as a volunteer. The first, when we send you to give you a case, we call you up, say, hey, here's the case, these are the details, what do you think? Give you the opportunity to stand there and say, yeah, I'll take that case, that sounds like I'm interested in that, I don't have any conflicts, I don't know any of the family members, things like that. Then we simply send the volunteer out. They go out and actually visit with the child that's in the case. These children are children that the Department of Human Services typically have come in, taken the child out of the home. They're in some type of foster care at the time, with a grandparent, relative, hopefully. Our goal is to go out and visit with the child, visit with the family, visit with teachers, doctors, anybody that has any contact with that child. We try to go out and visit with them to obtain information of what's going on with the case, how the child mainly is doing in their placement. Then the volunteer goes actually to court, which, as Judge Wright knows, that's typically about every 3 months through the case, usually about 3 or 4 times. Go to court, stand in the courtroom, represent the child. Sometimes the child's there, sometimes they're not. And the CASA volunteer is the voice for that child in court. When you've got one attorney over here, and I know there's maybe attorneys in here, and there's one attorney over here arguing for the parents, there's one attorney over here arguing for somebody else, and how everybody arguing. Then there's the CASA volunteer that stands there, and usually after all that goes on, the judge typically turns and goes, well, what does CASA think? And then we give our little spiel of, hey, we've actually been out and visited, we know, we've talked to the teachers, the kids doing good in school, blah, 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 blah. And we feel like that's the best way to give the court what they need to make a decision based on actually the facts and the situation going on, which a lot of times when CASA's not involved, you can probably testify to that. A lot of times they don't know what's going on, you know, unless there's somebody out there actually seeing the child, talking to them, and seeing what their problems are. So it's a very worthwhile thing. I don't know how long we've been in this area. I know we're going on 11 years out of Texarkana, working down there. I think we handled 700 some odd cases last year through our department, which is a lot, too many. But we do good work. We're right now doing a class, which Lee will talk about here in a little bit tonight, just an information class trying to recruit volunteers. What I ask of you guys, I know y'all are all volunteers anyway. I mean, y'all are Kiwanis, I'm a Lions Club member, don't throw anything at me. That we just need your help in getting the word out. If there's any other groups you know of or involved in your church, any other, you know, your wives, things like that, husbands, that know of another group we can go speak to, anything we can do to get information out, because that's how we're based. I mean, we have to have volunteers to do the work. Without the volunteers, we just can't do it. You know, that's the hard fact about it. Without volunteers, it won't work. So that's what we constantly do. We're out recruiting, spreading the word, trying to get volunteers. I'll stop right there for a minute. Any questions so far? I know I'm real fast and bounce around.
How many cases are volunteers given?
A volunteer can only have 2 cases at a time. I guess that's the law. That's the standard set by National CASA. So that doesn't sound like very many, but they don't want to spread you, too thin, because that's what you have with the Department of Human Services. I see when I deal with them is they're, a lot of times they're spread so thin with so many cases and so much that they, not saying they don't do a good job, because they do, but I mean a lot of times they're out there and they just cannot physically go do everything they have to do, and that's a lot of times where a CASA volunteer can step in and even help them out. I know in DeQueen, I'm from DeQueen originally, don't throw anything again. In DeQueen, I know when I was working some cases up there and helping out, a lot of times the Department of Human Services, the girl I knew there would actually ask me, hey, what'd you find out when you were, which we were glad, I was glad to talk to her, but, she was so overwhelmed. I think at one time, she had 30-something kids she was dealing with, and, unbelievable. Question?
Chad, on average, how much time does a volunteer spend per case?
The average, after the education, you get your first case, the average is actually about 5 hours a month. It's really not that much. The only time, you're really required is when Judge Wright over here tells you to be in court. You're just, I was going to say today he allowed me to take the orange jumpsuit off to come up here and speak. So, but that's really the only obligation as far as a time frame is the court. Going out and visiting the child, visiting parents. Some of that can actually, teachers, things like that can be done over the phone. Really easy to call a teacher up, not actually go take time out of their day. A lot of times you don't have time to go. Really the only thing I always push people when I talk to them is, you really want to make time to go actually visit the child. You want to sit down with that kid, let them feel comfortable. A lot of times they're not comfortable around adults. They've been in situations that we don't even like to talk about or like to face in life that they've been doing, but a lot of times they need an adult that they can feel reassured. I know we've got a volunteer she killed me if I told you. Ms. Edwards, probably 70 something. She drives actually from Texarkana and works cases in DeQueen and Nashville. And one of the best ladies I've ever seen. And that's the thing, when you're standing over there in the corner and she walks in the court and the kids see her, they run to her like grandma, because in a lot of cases they don't have one. I'll tell you real quick, the best thing I saw with her was she actually organized a birthday party for 3 of the kids that were actually, their parents' rights were being terminated that day in court. They were taken away from the parents completely, placing them in foster care, I think, with a grandparent. Kids are 14, 12, and 8. And this will get you right here where we're at. 14, 12, and 8, she had organized a birthday party after court that day. Judge Capehart, our judge over there, we told him what was going on, so he made sure and had everybody up there early because we had a birthday party to get to. That was more important than anything going on in court that day. We got to get these kids out there so they can have a birthday party. Because he was actually trying to have a birthday party, because at 14, 12, and 8, it was the first birthday party they had ever had. And Miss Jones had actually done that and got permission through us to do that for them and everything. And they were completely excited. And, every day I take that for granted. I mean, if I don't get the right credit, I'm mad. My girlfriend gonna give me some, I'm mad, you know. But it was the first birthday party they had ever had, and that, you know, that touches you when you're there and you see them, they were so excited. You know, they were actually glad that everything was over. You know, they had a new lease on life as of that day, and I think it was because CASA working with everybody that happened, so. Any other questions?
How many volunteers do you have in this area?
That I don't know.
Well, it's limited. It might just be
Well,
two or...
yeah, and Hempstead County is really where we're hurting right now. Nevada County actually has more volunteers than Hempstead County, and my experience in Nevada County is we've been able to cover the number of cases we needed with the volunteers there. In Hempstead County, we're very low.